Hi, this is Ryan. I want to give a demo of my Bake to Root plugin. For the Mixamo Add Root Bone feature, I'll open some Mixamo characters I downloaded from the Mixamo site. Before adding the root bone, you can see a red line going from the origin to the hip bone. This is an indication that the hip bone has no parent and is not at the origin of the world. To add the root bone, I'll select all the skeletal meshes and right-click. Then look for Scripted Asset Actions. Inside there, you'll find the Mixamo submenu. Just click on the Add Root Bone item. This will bring up skeletal merge options for each skeleton. For the merge type, just select Merge. When it comes to the Merge All checkbox, I haven't seen a difference if I check it or not, so it's your choice. When you look at the assets, you should now see the root bone has been added to the hierarchy. For the Mixamo Bake to Root, I'll just start with one animation, so it's easy to see the effects. Because the root bone was just added, you can see the root is at origin, in the center of the world. When you right-click on the anim sequence in the content browser, find the Scripted Asset Actions and look for the Mixamo submenu. From there, you should see 3 items. I'll start with the Translate Only item. Looking back at the animation, you should see the root is now traveling with the hip, but it is staying oriented to the world. Now going back and right-clicking on the anim sequence. This time select the Translate and Yaw item. Looking at the animation, you should now see the root is moving and rotating with the hip. The yaw part means that it's rotating only around the z-axis, so the y is always trying to point in the forward direction, relative to the hip. Right-clicking again on the anim sequence, and this time selecting the root to origin item. This will put the root bone back at origin, so it's now back at the center of the world and not moving or rotating. You can batch process these Bake to Root procedures. Just select all your Mixamo animations, where the root has been added to the character, then right-click and select one of the Mixamo Bake to Root items. It might take a couple seconds, but all the animations now have the motion baked to the root. Just make sure you save after applying. The next feature is a UI that allows you to do Bake to Root operations on any character, not just Mixamo characters. One way to open it up is by going to the Tools menu and looking for Ryan Tools. Look in there for Bake to Root. This will open the widget so you have access to the various features. If your character doesn't already have a root bone, you can add one from here. At the bottom of the widget, you'll find a text field where you fill in the name you want for the root bone and a button which will perform the Add Root Bone operation when clicked. I'm performing this on the Mixamo characters again. Since I know they don't come with a root bone, I'll type in a name, then select the skeletal meshes, and then click the Bake to Root button. You should again see the merge options for each skeleton. I'll select Merge and Commit for each one. For the next part, I'll perform the Bake to Root operations on some animations found in Epic's Game Animation Sample Project. This one has the character running around in circles. When I select the root and show the Translate manipulator, you can see that the root is moving and rotating with the character. The other one is having the character run in an L shape. When I select that root, you can see it's translating only, so it's not rotating with the character. Another way you can open the widget is to right-click on the anim sequence, then find the scripted asset actions and look for the Bake to Root subfolder. In there, you should find the Open Widget item. Opening the widget this way will automatically fill in the skeleton and try to fill out the hip and root drop-down fields. If it doesn't find the hip or root names, then you just need to click on each item and find the correct name. Next, you'll see 3 buttons, one for each way of baking the root. I'll start with Bake to Origin. I'll select the anim sequence with the guy running around in circles and click the Bake to Origin button. Looking at the animation, you should now see the root at origin. The animation might be a little messed up at first, but once it loops back to the beginning, then things will pop into place. I'll do the same Bake to Origin operation on the guy running in an L shape. Next, we'll do the Translate Only operation on the guy running in circles. You can see now the root is moving, but not rotating. Now to apply Translate Only on the guy running in an L shape. This should bring it mostly back to its original state. Now for baking Translate and Yaw. This part is a little more tricky because we need to know what the forward and up axis are for the hip. You can find this out by selecting the hip bone in the animation sequence. If I select the hip and zoom in, with the Translate manipulator active, I can see the green y-axis is the forward axis of the hip. It's a little hard to see because the spine is in the way, but the red x-axis is pointing up. It has to be the x pointing up because the blue z-axis is pointing out to the side. Remembering this, when I go back to the widget, I can set the forward, the aim, to positive y and the up to positive x. Once you've set the aim and up, then just click the Translate and Yaw button. When you look back at the anim sequence, you should now see the root is moving and rotating with the hip. I'll go ahead and apply this to the guy running in the L shape. Again, you should see the root moving and rotating. Just to show the difference in the hip orientation, I'll look at one of the Mixamo characters. I'll open up one of the animations, then right-click the anim sequence to start the widget again. If I select the Mixamo hip and zoom in, you can see the blue z-axis is pointing forward, and the green y-axis is pointing down. Remembering this when I go back to the widget, I'll set the aim to positive z and the up to negative y. This will give the procedure what it needs to correctly move and rotate the root bone when it's baked. Thanks for watching the demo of my Bake to Root plugin.